Alright, so I'd like to lead this presentation with a hypothetical question. What if you were to get to your house one day, you enter your house and go to your room, ready to enter it as usual, and a stranger approached you and told you, don't enter that room, don't open that door. What's on the other side? The floor is lava and it's surely to kill you. Well, first of all, I'd imagine you'd ask how this stranger got into your house and probably call the police, but that's besides the point. Surely you wouldn't believe him because that's your own room and you've been inside of it countless times and you're able to recognize that you know that what's on the other side is something that you're familiar with, you're comfortable with, and so you disregard, go to the other side, all would be fine. Now, what if you were in a foreign country, let's say, and you approach a door that you've never seen before. You're about to enter this door, and this time a new person comes up to you and tells you, don't open that door. What's on the other side of that door will kill you. Well, you'd likely turn away, better to avoid the risk, and perhaps you'd convince yourself that you don't want to be on the other side of that door. Perhaps you'd want to go into a different door, somewhere where you see many people entering. Fine, they're safe, you'd follow the crowd. But the fact is, you don't know exactly what is on the other side of that door until you've opened it and explored it for yourself. And the same logic applies to the boundaries which may hold us back in all areas of our life. That mindset that the unknown is dangerous to us. We're placed in a society which tells us that lava is all around us. This lava represents a fear of failure, a fear of being recognized for our efforts, a fear of being judged for our differences. So most of us do not open those doors. We fall into an even more dangerous space of denial, created by our own combined addiction to false security, comfort, and routine. We chase the instant gratification of our comfort zones. As a result, we have been led to neglect the lure of experimentation which lives inside of us. This leaves us susceptible to an insulting lack of creativity which can be observed in the music industry. That is, up until the emergence of our subject, Lil Peep. He not only defied the boundaries of musical genres, but the boundaries of all demographics, which we allow to contain us from connecting with those around us. Those of different religious ethnic groups or religions or any differences, really. He faced his own emotional turmoil by recognizing what it is which unites all of us, of all groups, and that is our emotions, good, bad, everything in between. He was able to choose an identity which did not stop at the warnings of failure this society blared at him. He approached that door not with the fear of the lava, but which might hurt him, but with intrigue of what might lie on the other side. And the goal that he kept in mind was he visualized a world without prejudice, this is why he welcomed audiences of all backgrounds, all genders, all cultures. Taking a look at his audience demographic, he hoped to remove all assigned roles. According to his following, there was only 36% of his fans were from the United States, which is much different from most artists which gained popularity as much as he did. There were also a large percentage of his fans in Finland, France, Canada, Russia, and a pretty great difference or even difference between male and females who listened to his music. About 47% were female and about 53% were male. So how did this artist seek not just success but revolution? Well, he sought to redesign the music industry. So first, we should take a look at the evolution of musical genres prior to Lil Peep. So this is a graphical representation of genres which were most represented in the top 10 charts in the past decades. So this statistical study of musical genre representation across the decades, what we can observe is the progressive dominance of single genre popularity. Much of the top charting genres were commonly the same. So in the early 60s, we see a range of genres climbing in popularity, with soul and rock being the most popular. The average percentage of Hot 100 spots, not 10, my apologies, over the 60s was 18.7% being rock and 24.7% being soul. And then at the height of the 50s and 60s, pop held the top spot with an average of 35.1% between 50s and 60s. This incline continued to show significance with a 34% rate in the top 100 songs over this period, and then the second most relevant genre being rap with a 19.5%. And then this study recorded the years 1950 to 2015, and it provides a full coverage of every genre listed for a total of 16 genres. There has been no recorded emergence of a new genre for over 65 years. Even within the 16 categories in existence that they recorded, only a small handful dominated the industry. That would be pop music, rock music for a small period of time, and rap music near the end. So, and even within the genres which were top ranking, there's an even smaller range of creativity or originality, you could say. Another study shows that more than 70% of popular top 40 songs on the radio listed love as the central theme. So as we can tell, there's not a lot of wide-ranging differences. However, at the height of the 2000s, the music industry would see the rise of a brand new genre, which spiked in popularity so drastically in a matter of just a few years that no official title was actually developed for this new interpretive style. It was created from a mingle of inspiration from underground rock, or underground acts, classical punk, rock, rap, and the result was a brutally revealing and vulnerable lyrics, which were over a unique tech-based background beat of quick or slow rhythmic patterns. This was the music produced by Lil Peeps. The best description of characteristics for this music was listed on Wikipedia as emo, trap, lo-fi, alternative rock, pop punk. So as you can see, it was something like the industry had never really seen before. So what made his music so unique? So these are some of the earliest signs that set him apart. So let's talk about the analogy of that door once again. So there's not room for all of us to enter that same door. And those types of people that we see succeed higher than others in this competitive society, we often refer to those as entrepreneurs. So what do entrepreneurs do differently? It's certainly, they all have something that makes them stand out, and this is often referred to as the growth mindset. And this basically represents that they commonly go against the norm. And instead of searching for a set idea of success, they actually are able to think based off of originality, setting themselves apart. So if you want to think about even like some of the earliest, most successful people, the people who took expeditions to discover new areas of the world, like they had no guarantee. They actually searched for unpredictability and weren't afraid to tackle areas of the unknown. And Lil Peep, or better known as Gustav Elijah R., that's his original name, was the same way. So he was always known for going against the norm. Even from a young age, he struggled in school, feeling as if he didn't fit anyone's standards. But he didn't take this as a negative. In fact, he was willing to embrace it with enthusiasm and not let this obstacle stop him from finding his own potential, his own path. Although he may have been able to force himself to go to school if he truly wanted to, he actually found a path that suited him better. And he did so by using an outlet that didn't require a certain set. There was no set requirements. He was able to create and be his own type of person. So his earliest music was actually produced when ditching school. That's an interesting fact about how his music career got started and the early signs of his creativity and drive that would set him apart in the industry. So this fearless mentality, how did this serve his success? So Lil Peep faced many of the same difficulties we all fear. Instead of turning away, he recognized them as an opportunity to achieve what really inspired him, which was bringing people together. Just the same way as he faced his obstacle of not doing well in school, creating a new path. So this fearless mentality, he wanted to use it to guide those around him. So this mindset made him a leader because where other people searched for, where other people didn't know what to do, he just led by chasing the unknown. So he actually got his first face tattoo at a young age, only 17, in order to inspire himself to make music and survive in this industry. He wanted to set himself apart from the others who perhaps wouldn't have done that until they had more of a guarantee of success, I guess you could say. And another example is, despite the risk that it held, Gus decided to leave his hometown and become homeless in the spring of 2016. He left his hometown, which he believed to be holding him back, and went out to LA to make music. He believed that our paths are completely up to us. Our environment should never stay based on what we're used to. He may have grown up in that town, but he knew that there was so much more to see, so much more to do, so he left. And in the documentary made about him, one collaborator that worked with him described this leadership. He said, "It felt like the new generation of music. All these creators started just moving out to LA and staying in Airbnbs to produce music." So he led that movement by taking the first step into the unknown. And how did he remain inspired in the face of his darkest struggles? Well, he actually used these struggles as his own inspiration because he realized he wasn't alone in feeling these pains, and he wanted to use that, like I said, to bring people together. He embraced these dark feelings just as he embraced any other obstacle. He didn't hide from it. He didn't look for a way around it or a way to conform to what other people considered right, which is maybe music which only speaks about happy feelings, love, or security. So in his music and in interviews, just everything, he openly admitted he battled with anxiety and depression, but he was willing to voice his pain in hopes of showing others that it is not an excuse not to chase your dreams. He wanted people to believe that anyone could be as successful as him because he was no different than others, where many other artists would present themselves as successful as if they were born successful or born naturally more gifted. He believed that it was his faults that made him able to reach his success, and he didn't want to hide that from others because he actually wanted to inspire others to act as he acted. So a good example of this is actually the next tattoo he got, this crybaby tattoo on his forehead. He, when asked about the meaning, he actually described that it was a open visual display of his own insecurities, that he had a tendency to take things for granted. But he chose to acknowledge it, and this is where progress began for him, just as it did in his music. So he's quoted as saying, in regards to this tattoo, "There's people fighting to survive, so live on for them." He related to those who were struggling. He wanted to place himself on that same plane, not above them because of his position in the industry. He actually believed that all people could succeed, despite how much emotional trauma or whatever it was that they felt made them less capable. All right, and the next point, honesty stands out. So he actually gained his inspiration from the idea that it was liberating to avoid idealism. So just as the quote, a quote that would pertain to this, perfectionism blocks inventiveness. So he believed there was no perfect music. Music was free to be whatever it should or shouldn't be. He didn't want to fit into a specific genre. He didn't want to follow a certain sound. He wanted to create something completely original, which is why he, from the start, he wrote his own lyrics and actually was self-produced. His very first... One moment. His very first album, you could say, that he ever released actually got as many as 4,000 streams within 24 hours, and it was all his own voice. He didn't have a producer, he didn't have anyone helping him make that music, but it was all about his honesty, his brutal honesty. So he was never afraid of being himself or addressing topics that many people found taboo, or many people thought wouldn't be brand friendly in this society. So this is just another example of his fearless mindset. So a quote from the song Toxic City, he describes the topic of addiction by describing himself. He used many metaphorical personas actually for his character to portray some of his own insecurities and some of the things that he struggled with. So in this song, he refers to himself as King of the Swamp. And the swamp itself is more of like a metaphor for addiction. So he goes on to say, "I could give you what I want, tell my body's in the mud, edge of the swamp, another drug go through." So he's describing how he continues to struggle with addiction that he knows is pulling him closer to his death. And whereas many other artists in the industry actually choose to glorify substance, he was not afraid to describe the true dangers of it. And he's also known to go by the persona of Hellboy or Crybaby, as previously described. Crybaby represents his struggle with temptation to be ungrateful, just as many other people can relate to. And Hellboy is his temptation to... It's a temptation to, we all have that, like, self-doubt that we aren't good enough, that we aren't wholesome enough. But he wanted to put it out there that he honestly didn't feel perfect. He didn't relate to a set of rules. He often actually felt drawn to break rules, and whether that was good or bad, he wanted to be honest about it and honest with his audience. So in his on the documentary about his life, Everybody's Everything, his grandmother described him as having an identification with oppressed people, and it was because he didn't want to be better than others. He didn't want to stand above. He wanted to bring people together, and he did so with honesty of his faults, honesty of the world around us not being perfect. He didn't want to give us that false security. And that's basically what made him bring so much revolution to the industry by creating something that had never been seen before. He wasn't afraid of what judgment might come if he was different. He was willing to put his own faults out for the world to see. And as a result, he created something that actually that people could relate to more than any type of false superiority. Because even when we're feeling at our best, we all often struggle with the same insecurities as this artist did.